Hello, everybody, and thank you for having us here for the second year. Obviously, we all know there is a great beer that goes over here, but there is a lot more, and there is a super vibrant VR/AR ecosystem. And I really enjoy, coming and both listening, meeting a lot of partners, and also sharing what we're doing, how we're developing that market. So just a flashback. 2 years ago, just a little bit over 2 years ago, we launched the first Vive. That was one of the first. We were together with our big competitor that we're really going into a first scalable, easy-to-use product. And I still remember the first meeting with an automotive customer in South Germany, saying, walking me into a large room with a lot of engineers working on different models, and then looking at me, say, it's great, we need VR, but we need it simple. Because look, all engineers are actually working on 3D models, but looking at it on a flat screen, and they can't see everything. And we need VR to spot mistakes, to accelerate decision, and today it's too complex. Ideally, we as an automotive company should be able to have one VR headset for every engineer, just connecting that just as if it was another screen. I think we can say that within 2 years, we as an industry have done that. That's part of what I want to explain. We have done that, what I think is an incredible job to be able to, both from a hardware implementation and software workflow perspective, make it possible. And let me just go back a little bit, move back about within this, what are we doing, HTC Vive? Because we're not doing everything. We're part of that ecosystem. We're contributing, we're developing, but we're part of it. So we mainly involve into 4 big pillars. The first one is you could say the Vive technology, the core, the headset. So it's probably what most of you know the most, because it's the most visible part. And we have started working on the PC platform. That's the HTC Vive that has moved into the HTC Vive Pro. That we'll look at a bit more in details in a minute. Beyond that, we also developing 3 markets. Consumer market, location-based entertainment, so out of door, and enterprise market. And to do that, we need to be involved into both selling and designing content as well. So that's what we're doing through the Viveport, which is our consumer marketplace, but also has now a version that is Viveport Arcade that is addressing the location-based entertainment market. And we're obviously looking at the rest of the market, the enterprise market. That's where we are today. In order to really be very tightly linked into content delivery and product, we also need to make our own content, to make some content. And that's what Vive Studio does, really designing content until now, mostly for consumers and location-based entertainment, but we obviously also want to look at beyond that to the enterprise space as well. And then we have a 4th pillar, which is really how do we contribute to bring the technology that doesn't exist today in VR. A lot of different, whether it's hardware, whether it's software, middleware, to how do you do analytics in VR. For example, how do you do portable avatar? There's a lot of things that are required to be able to make a scalable business. And that's what we contribute to, I would say, we drive through the Vive X, which is a startup accelerator program, where we have now invested and coached into 86 startups across the world. So you see there are core pillars. There are a few things we're not doing here is, for example, industry solution. Then we partner, and I'll come into details about how we are with that. Now, A year ago, we were really talking about proof of concept, mostly, a lot of experimentation. And I think it's really incredible to see how quickly, we move as an ecosystem, as an industry, because already a lot of companies are moving into implementation now. So it's not the innovation department that, makes contracts, contracts a small development to try out. It's now business lines that are deploying. And it's a big move in just 1 year. 1 year ago, I think that survey does not exist, but it would probably have been less than 5% that companies that were using VR really into operational execution. Now, Capgemini that made that research in May and June this year, mostly focusing on not the marketing and sales, but really the operations. Find that already across more than 600 companies that they have surveyed, mostly in the industry, already more than 1/3 are deploying for solving a real problem in their real business. And that's a very big move, yeah? Now, who are those companies? Very, very different scope of company. Let's look at a few examples. Sodexo has widely communicated about their achievements. They're a very large service company. A lot of different type of services, but what probably the most well known is actually that they are running a lot of collective restaurants in companies. And one of their challenges is obviously to train people to make sure they're careful into the way they do their job to reduce the number of accidents and eventually eliminate them. And they have run that program of training with VR over more than a year, which allows also to look at what the results are. And I think it's really interesting to see that really apple-to-apple comparison, the same event, one year to the other, which was the tennis Paris Open, they've managed to reduce the number of accidents by half. But you see some of the other numbers are also fairly clear, interesting into level of memorization. So that really impacts into their business and their employees. Another example, which some of you might remember, because Volkswagen last year here in the agility made the first announcement about they were about to go deploying, rolling out real life, training a lot of employees. So it's now live. In February, we were already being able to announce further together. They have deployed across 4 brands, across multiple factory sites in Europe. Quite a lot of different training modules, but basically they're targeting on track to train about 10,000 employees in Europe this year in the function of production logistics. You can try that applications, one of that, on the active booth just outside of here. This is it's quite a good scale. This is collaborative, multi-user training, which I recommend that you can try. Another company in the aerospace sector, this time Airbus. Of course, as we all know, planes are completely designed electronically. So the first planes now flies. There is no prototype anymore. So there is a very, very large number of engineers using CAD and simulation to make everything, to simulate everything. And we've worked together with Airbus to be able to make sure that they can deploy VR at a wide scale. And they have simply made it as easy to deploy as any other equipment internally. Just any engineer that needs it can just go in the system, order Vive, the software that goes with it to interface with the software, and deploy through their normal processes. This is the big change that we've done between having a cool technical tool that could do a demo of what could be the future and bringing it into something that can be deployed in an operational and reliable way. in large industries. So, in a sense, what we've done is building on a technical platform that was originally only for consumer, and built an enterprise offering that ticks the box of a data confidentiality, easy deployment offline, all the aspects that an enterprise needs to make it a really scalable deployment tool. And that's what we call Vive Enterprise. So it consists of several points. So the first thing we've done is to take the Vive we had and to add what was missing. We were being told, VR is great for simulation, but it's not quite good enough. I can't read because the definition was not enough. So we've improved the definition to be able to be to that level that, if you're building a simulator with a dashboard of a car, then you don't need to lean on it to see. You can sit, you can keep your normal posture, and you can really go through a real simulation. So the Vive Pro has about 80% improved resolution, but it keeps this, what you have known as a super low latency screen, very high contrast, so that it really gets as real as possible to a virtual reality. One thing that came back, and you all have seen, if you have used the original Vive, you can remember that it was only visual, and you had to put a separate headset. And clearly, there was the feedback. It needs to be super audio, but it needs to be straight and simple to put it on and off. And we've built on the Vive Pro high quality audio. So you have a kind of a €300 plus high fidelity headset built into the Vive Pro, and a pretty deep access to what you can do with it for the developers. So it supports high quality 24-bit coding, so it's quite on the top what is available today. But it also supports specialized sound. It has a dual microphone with active noise cancelling, so even if you're in such an environment which can be noisy in exhibition or in a production site, or you can have a very good immersion, so you can simulate what you need to. Think about emergency situation, for example. You're training team on fire. What do you need to be able to simulate where the sound's coming from, where is the dangers coming from, and you can do that with the Vive Pro with a very high fidelity. The other things we've worked on is the comfort, because of course when you go into using VR as a tool, not as a game, then you need to be able to use it for quite some time in a comfortable way. Think about an engineer doing CAD. You easily need to work an hour. So it needs to be as comfortable as possible. So we've made it lighter. We've reduced the weight of balance so that you have the impression you don't lean in the front. You have the impression it's really sits on your head. And we've improved also the surface of contact on the face so that you don't feel the pressure. It's basically the pressure spread across the wider area. So all that just to make it comfortable, and that you'll feel when you try it. That's very, very obvious. The last thing that was important, because Vive was built on the idea that you need to be able to be free and to move freely 360 around you to do what you would do in reality. But we were limited to 4x4 meter. And with the new Steam VR tracking generation, what we call the 2.0, you can now go up to 10 by 10 meter. That really covers the vast majority of use cases in the enterprises. Of course, we all have in mind, car manufacturer using, to a VR for design reviews, and a large car is about 6 meters long, so you need to have enough space around it to be able to move around, particularly if it's multi-user. 10 by 10 meter really covers really a very, very vast majority of use cases, and with the same ease of setting up that you know from the Vive already. So that's for the product. But of course, freedom is freedom. So we all know that without a cable, it would be so much better. And so that was the last point that we really had to work on. It's being launched now, so from next month, it will be available in Europe. This is the Vive wireless adapter. So it consists of two parts. One part which you put on the headset that you have already, the other part that you connect to the PC to replace the cable as simple as possible. And it's with no compromise. It continues to support everything. So the microphones, the audio on both sides, the USB, the dual camera is supported. So it's simply a full Vive Pro wireless. The battery lasts about 2.5 hours, so there is quite a lot. But if it's not enough, you just need, when the batteries run out, you just unplug, plug another one, nothing else to do, a few seconds to wait, and it reconnects. There's nothing else. So it's really very, very usable, easy to use. It's made to be able to be used, by anybody, no technical knowledge required to install that. So that's all the improvement we've made on the product itself. But we clearly had a lot of requests to say, yes, but it's not enough for me to be immersed. When I work on production, when I work on maintenance, I'm using tools. I'm using machines. I need to be able to have those real things with me as well to track them. And that's what the Vive Tracker was made to. A simple element, which is about 5-6 centimeter diameter, that you can stick to any object you want to track, whether it be a chair, whether it be a machine. And then it provides you the same millimeter level tracking of that real object in your virtual world. Now, having done that, the key questions we had were, okay, how do you deploy it? I'm an airplane company. 2/3 of my workstations are not connected and will never connect to internet because it's too dangerous. So that's only limited to internal. How do I deploy? How am I sure that the data that is being used cannot be hacked, cannot go out? What the so-called data privacy, assurance that you're giving me there? And that's what we work with, what we call the Vive Enterprise platform. A complete set of tools for an enterprise to be able to deploy. It does consist of a few points. The first point is that you get an offline installer, so the IT manager can download the version of SteamVR that they want to deploy. They have the choice, and just deploy with their existing software deployment tool in their company, like another IT tool. If you don't have such tool, then we offer an alternative, a simple device management tool, which allows you to manage a pool of Vive headset with the PCs that you have within the company. But the IT manager is in control of the software, the version. There's no automatic update, so you have full control of your configuration. The second is also to offer, professional warranty, so 2 years professional warranty for commercial use, but also, being aware about how company use VR. A company develops a system centrally, then spread it. So, like for factories, you develop centrally, eventually you buy centrally, and then you send to all the factories around Europe or more. So, with the Vive Advantage program, a company that buys the Vive Pro with the Vive Advantage program and send it across to their sites is covered. We will support directly that factory that is in wherever it is, in Romania, in Spain, and so on, directly. And we will collect direct on site and redeliver on site. So to really minimize the time out. Data confidentiality, we have very clear statement in our EULA that we're not pinging any data. The content is your content, and we're a tool to visualize it, but we're not going to look into it. There is no risk. We even don't kind of ping or you would say anonymize. No, we don't touch it. So it's very clear. Very clear, commercial use license. So it's nothing that is consumer, inspired. No, it's a clear license for commercial use, and we also have a dedicated after-sales support. So that brings all elements so that with the company looking at deploying at large scale in an operational way VR, the IT manager has a solution, the legal manager also is secure, and the sourcing manager will be able to certify it. Now that was not enough. We could clearly see that when we went into asking companies what do they need to make it really scalable, to deploy VR within the company, the key is that VR should be like a screen. You don't use one screen for one application. You use the same screen mostly for all your applications. And it was important that an industry-focused VR system like the Vive Pro would support as many applications as possible so that there is just one system that can be deployed. So we've worked a lot with all the software companies that are specific to the industrial world, well beyond the gaming engines. And from the Dassault system family with the Katia and all the families that goes around it, to marketing suite like the 3D Excite, to the complete suite of the Siemens PLM, so with NX, Teamcenter, Process Simulate. Also with Autodesk, I think a lot of you are familiar with a 3ds Max or with a VRED, but also with Revit in the architectural world, which is extremely widely used. Even with some very specific specialized company like Optis, really specialized in the architecture and automotive world about real light physical simulation. So Vive Pro is supported natively with by all those companies, which makes it a very, very much workable tool for a company that basically has 7, 8, 9 different software packages that they would like to use VR with. And one of the last one, that is just been announced and it will be rolled out, and really very, very significant in the industrial world, is SolidWorks. So SolidWorks 2019, for the first time, supports Vive Pro natively. So it's been announced a few weeks ago. It's going to be rolled out in November. Now, any user of SolidWorks Pro or the eDrawings Pro element, which a lot of companies are using, can simply plug in, plug in a Vive, and then visualize their models directly into VR, even for very, very large data sets. So like people really working with very large machines in the industrial world, and that's really what's fundamental, because it's real time. You can change your model while you're also visualizing it. So it will definitely speed up things a lot. Now, once we've done all that, which is to have a product that basically ticks most of the box of the features, to have processes to be able to deploy in a safe way within a company, and to have a large industry support from software perspective, it still need to be available through the normal channels, so that sourcing teams can just source it the same way they source any other IT equipment. So that's what we're doing now by expanding the distribution to the IT distribution. I'd like to mention two. First, one of our partners is Schenker Technologies. They're here on the exhibition. I think it's a little bit on the right over there. Go and try. They have the Vive wireless adapter. Just go and try with them. I think you'll be very happy with with what you'll see, you probably simply will not notice anything. It's just wireless, and you won't see any difference. And that was really the main thing. Another really important news is the agreement with HP. Many companies are sourcing their workstation from HP. Now it's as simple as that. HP has a range of VR-ready workstation, and you can buy it straight directly from HP with the Vive Pro, starting October. So that will also make availability sourcing a lot easier for industry. And we're very happy to be able to announce that deal today. So in short, from a great product, we've made it a great platform. So a tool that really does the job that you expect in terms of visualization in VR, but in addition to that, it is easy to deploy with the normal processes that an enterprise expects. It is usable with a lot of different softwares, and it's easily available through the normal sourcing channels. And I think this is, you can relate that to this research from Capgemini before. It's really in line. The customers are moving from experimentation to implementation. We needed to support that, and for the first time, we have all, managed to tick all those boxes, and we're there. Now, what if? What if, in addition, we could have that level of freedom we want? You would be able to have a VR headset with no PC, no tether, that you can have in your bag and use just when you want it, where you want it. And that's what we're working on. That's what is called a standalone VR headset. That's, for us, the Vive Focus. The Vive Focus is here. So, as you see, no PC, no tether. And the tracking is autonomous as well. We call that inside out. But when you just put it on, then it knows where it is, it calibrates automatically, and then you can start experiencing whatever you want to do in VR. And you put it off, it's over. And somebody puts it on, it recalibrates, as simple as that. Now, of course, that's opened a lot of new opportunities. That's open, you say, why training? Because you don't need to go to a room that is set up for that. Just, stay in your normal process. Sales promotion, marketing, product demonstration. You can take it to a customer and basically do your demo at the customer site. You don't need to have them come to a specific room. But think also about what that opens beyond, the work, which is education. So really using the power of immersive learning, in school, or enhancing the experience that you can bring into a museum. There's some limits into what you can show in a museum because it's a physical world, and you can enhance that with immersive experience in a very easy way. So this first product, the Vive Focus, takes really all the best things from the Vive Pro. So the screen is exactly the same. High quality screen, same 3K definition, so it's actually the same screen with super high contrast, low latency, so we keep that best screen. Then the field of view is the same as well. We don't compromise. 110 degrees, exactly the same. Now, as I said, we realized that having audio integrated is just a must. It's a must because the audio is part of the immersive experience. So it also comes with audio integrated. So we've kept all those essentials from the Vive Pro with the high quality. And then we've put in there the best processor we could have to make it really a product that is completely autonomous. The best you could do is to try it. I think you'll be amazed. I want to show you one of the very first applications.
Technology to
Audio,
train
please.
their people and to plan new workplaces. Our customer Volkswagen announced to...
So I'm gonna go back.
Many companies worldwide are embracing consumer VR technology to train their people and to plan new workplaces. Our customer Volkswagen announced to train 10,000 people with HTC Vive VR headsets and our software interactive hub. The question is now, how do we really drive VR adoption in enterprises? In order to make VR simulations affordable for even more companies, we are happy to announce support for the new HTC Vive Focus standalone VR headset, which is both wireless and does not require any additional hardware. We strongly believe that these more affordable headsets will take enterprise VR adoption to the next level.
This is a game changer for training, because training in particular is the area where you don't necessarily super high fidelity graphics with a lot of light simulation. You focus on what you have to do, but it needs to be as easy as possible. And what you've seen is probably what you're familiar to see on the PC, but I just suggest you go and try. It's available on the interactive booth just in front, I think, from here, on the booth C33. You can try it. You'll see it's for training, it is going to be a game changer. So I thank you very much. If you want to know more about exactly that application of Volkswagen collaborative multi-site training, there is a more in-depth presentation by Active CEO Daniel Seidel at I think just 4:15 I think today.
Yeah.
Here in this stage.
Yes.
So I recommend you come and you go and try it. Thank you very much.